I get it when you're thinking about adding a surround channel to your home theater. You're staring at a wall of options and wondering if you'll end up spending a lot of money on a speaker that never really blends with the rest of the system. You've probably heard stories about people buying a fancy-looking unit that either sounds too bright or just sits there without adding any real depth to the mix. That uncertainty is why I'm taking a minute to walk through the DALI Sonic Cinema Passive Surround Speaker, point out where it actually shines, and flag the situations where you might be better off looking elsewhere. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the biggest question most buyers have is whether a single surround speaker can hold its own against a full-blown 5.1 or 7.1 setup. The Sonic Cinema is built to slot into any part of the DALI Sonic family, left, center, or rear, so it's designed with a matching tonal signature in mind. That matters because you won't end up with a rear channel that sounds completely different from the front speakers. The soft dome tweeter and the 5.25-inch wood fiber clarity cone woofers are voiced to complement the rest of the range. In practice, that translates to a fairly seamless soundstage when you're watching a dialogue-heavy drama or an action flick with a lot of ambient effects. You'll actually hear every line of dialogue and subtle background detail, without the hollow feeling you sometimes get from cheaper surrounds. If you're someone who already has a DALI front stage pair, this speaker is a natural extension. The wood fiber cone gives the lows enough weight to reproduce explosions and rumble without overwhelming the mids, while the 1.1-inch soft dome tweeter handles high-frequency effects like rain or glass shattering with clarity that isn't piercing. In a typical 5.1 configuration I've tested, the rear channel stayed present but didn't dominate, which is exactly what you want for an immersive experience. The speaker also comes in a clean white cabinet with a natural oak veneer, so it blends into most living room decors without looking like a piece of industrial hardware. Now, let's talk about who will truly benefit. If you're an avid movie watcher who already owns a decent AV receiver and front speakers, and you're looking to move from a two-channel pseudo-surround setup to a real multi-channel layout, this is a solid step. The Sonic Cinema's ability to adapt to different channel positions means you can start with a left-right pair and later add a center or rear without having to buy a completely new line. For gamers, the clear directional cues, especially the crispness of the tweeter, help you pinpoint in-game sounds like footsteps or gunfire, which can make a noticeable difference in competitive play. On the flip side, if you're a casual viewer who rarely watches movies with the lights off, or if your budget is already tight for the rest of the system, you might want to skip this and consider a full-range bookshelf speaker used as a rear channel. The Sonic Cinema is a dedicated surround unit, so you're paying for a design that's optimized for that specific role. The price point reflects that focus, and you'll get the best results only when you pair it with speakers that share the same DALI tuning philosophy. In other words, buying it as a standalone surround for a mismatched front stage system could lead to a tonal imbalance that defeats the purpose of adding a dedicated rear channel. Practical strengths become clear once you actually plug it in. The passive design means you can use any decent AV receiver that can drive a 6-ohm load. You don't need a separate amplifier. The dual 5.25-inch woofers give enough bass punch for movie effects without requiring a subwoofer to fill the gap in the rear channel, which simplifies wiring and saves floor space. The cabinet's clean lines also make it easy to mount on a wall or place on a low shelf, something I've seen a lot of reviewers overlook when they focus purely on audio specs. The low-profile design means it won't block a window or clash with surrounding furniture, which is a real convenience for smaller apartments. There are a couple of trade-offs worth mentioning. Because the speaker is optimized for surround use, its bass response, while respectable, isn't as deep as a dedicated rear subwoofer would be. If you like those low-frequency rumble effects in big-budget action movies, you'll still want a sub in the front or center to handle the deep end. Also, the soft dome tweeter, while smooth, can sound a tad warm in very bright, high-frequency passages. Think of a cymbal crash that's meant to slice through the mix. In a room with very hard surfaces, you might notice a slight sheen that could be mitigated with a bit of acoustic treatment or by angling the speaker slightly away from the main listening spot. Another practical point is the wiring. Since this is a passive unit, you'll need to run speaker wire from your receiver to wherever you decide to place it. That's